Okay, we have our animations. We have corrected our mistakes. We have cleaned up our ad rendering setup. All that's waiting for us now is rendering all of these animation 3D files. Oh no, do we have to render these one by one? We must have made about 100 those or so shots. So I have to sit next to my computer, press the render animation button, and wait one by one to finish this part of filmmaking? Ew, gross. No. Okay, let's fix that. Batch rendering is a rendering tool that lets you render multiple Blender files or 3D files all at the same time. You can create a list of files to render. You can set up where the tool outputs your renders and move on to the next file, one by one. You can even set up multiple computers in a network, and each computer will send Blender files to each one, so you can run multiple renderings all at once. What this does basically is a set it and forget it system of rendering. You click one button and let your computer run the renderings while you go to sleep. Tomorrow morning, you wake up with breakfast and your whole film is nicely rendered. I mean, it's not perfect. There's a bit of a learning curve to use this, but it's generally a simple tool to use. Try to test it out with a couple of Blender files first and make sure it renders all the frames with the proper settings, file types, and output folder where you want them to go. There's even some batch rendering add-ons that turns off your computer for you once it's done, so you don't have to worry about your computer running forever. I don't know if you've watched some VFX movies behind the scene interviews before, but there's a bunch of artists talking about this movie took about 10 years to render. Like, oh my god, that's a lot of time. How did they do that? Did they make a computer run for 10 years just to render a big blockbuster movie? This is where render farms come in. It's the same idea basically as a network render. You got one computer that has all the 3D files you need to render, and you get a bunch of computers connected to it as a network, and they all render your files simultaneously. Except, for render farms, this is supersized to hundreds of computer drives. Several tens of hundreds of drives sitting next to each other, and their main function is to just accept a 3D file and render an image or a video, and that's it. So yes, that movie took 10 years to render if it was made on one computer. But if you have hundreds of computers working all at once to render it, that might have just taken you a day or two, maybe a week. You can make your own render farm, either from old pieces of computer parts or buy one. It is kinda complicated to set it up though. You can also just go online and pay for a render farm service. You upload your 3D files in their server, and they render your files for you. It costs a good amount of money, but at least you won't take 10 years to finish your film. So yeah, that's a lot of options for you out there. But really, do the best you can and work smart, eh? Okay, take care.